I'd like to call this regular City Council meeting of April 2nd, 2020 to order. Jim, would you please call the roll?
Coos.
Here.
Kiefer.
Here.
Gage.
Here.
Flora.
Here.
Chapel.
Here.
Bergeron.
Present.
Thank you for that. If you will please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So, at this particular point, and as I had asked for all the council meetings until such time as we are past the concerns of the pandemic, I'd like to invite Chief Hogue to the podium to give us a public message at this time. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, as you know, or you may recall, we've been in this EOC Level 1 activation kicked off exactly 1 month ago. March 3rd is when I activated the EOC at Level 1, so tomorrow, or today, is our 30th day. At this point, as of today, we have 14 confirmed positive cases, we have 48 pending tests, and we have 84 negative results from testing. Public Health is currently monitoring 16 individuals under daily monitoring. We have 10 individuals who have recovered after testing positive at this point. Of our 14 cases, 2 of those are travel related, 11 are close contact with a positive patient, and 1 is non-travel related. The EOC, I talked about the EOC being active for 30 days now. In that time, we've grown from just a couple people, myself and Scott Brainerd initially, basically kind of monitoring the situation and providing updates. Today, we have 33 people working under the EOC, actively working assigned in positions. We have some other staff in various city and borough departments that are assisting occasionally, but not full-time assigned to the EOC. The EOC continues to work on 6 primary objectives. We want to safeguard the health and safety of our personnel and the public. We want to slow and stop the spread of COVID-19. We want to increase COVID-19 testing capacity. We want to care for the sick. We want to provide public information, and we want to mitigate community and economic impact from this disaster. That staff of 30 people gets a lot of work done for us, and I'm very proud of them. A few key things that we've done recently I'd like to share with you. Our PIO team probably does huge, especially at first, did a huge portion of that work, and they've done a great job getting information out to the community. I've heard a ton of positive feedback that people like the information that they're receiving. We always receive requests for more information, and we try to provide that as often as we can. You'll see in the next couple of days some banners going up in various locations around town. There are some pretty neat graphics that Matt Hamilton did, and you'll know when you see them. One going up by Walmart on the rock wall, one in Saxman at the fire station, one near Berth 4, one at Tatsuda's on the fence, and one near Jefferson and Tongass by the mall. You may recall from a situation report that we've implemented a phone number that citizens can call if they feel that they've been exposed to COVID-19 and may need testing, and that number is 247-TEST. KPU did a great job getting that set up for us, and Creekside is actively monitoring that number and doing the screening for us. So far, that number as of this morning had received 45 calls, and they've referred 1 person for testing so far. You may have seen yesterday the President announced his new campaign of 30 days to stop the spread. I expect that many of the governors around the country, and probably ours included, will extend current restrictions and mandates in order to do the same. Unfortunately, we are not to a point yet where we can mass test or vaccinate people, and there is no cure for COVID-19. And so we're in a position where we need to continue to shelter in place and hunker down so that we can slow the spread and allow the hospital system and our healthcare system to not be overwhelmed. As we continue in the response, we're also starting to look at recovery and the needs of the community in that sense, financial impacts on businesses, on individuals. I've recently tasked the team to start putting more effort into that as well. Obviously, we need to take care of the immediate emergent needs, but we're also starting to put information out on recovery stuff that's available to the public and to businesses. So we've been working with the Chamber of Commerce. They have a page set up on their site that has a lot of information for businesses. Small Business Administration has started loan programs, and there's lots of information there, so people should go take a look at that. The last thing that I just kind of want to close with before I give you a chance to ask any questions, I recorded a PSA today, and that should be playing soon, but I want to share with you the message from that. This PSA says, "This is Ketchikan Emergency Manager Abner Hogue, here to remind everyone to continue to hunker down and stay home. Our community has done an incredible job of flattening the curve, but in order to contain the spread of COVID-19, we must continue practicing social distancing. Remember to stay home, avoid public spaces, and maintain a distance of 6 feet between yourself and others outside of your immediate family. If you believe you have been exposed to COVID-19 and have symptoms such as fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, call the testing hotline at 247-TEST. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I don't hear you, sir.
Yeah, muted. So thank you for that, Chief. And I know that there's a lot going on, so after this particular point, you can excuse yourself if necessary, or stay on. It's up to you. Are there any questions?
Bob?
Yes, go right ahead.
So, Chief Hogue, I have a question about, on the news today it was suggested that everyone should wear a mask while they're in public places. Has you guys given any consideration to making that part of what we're trying to do to mitigate the COVID-19 here in Ketchikan?
We have had discussions about that. We're continuing to follow, the current information that's out there. There are two schools of thought on that, of course, as you're probably well aware. We are currently recommending what the state of Alaska is recommending and the CDC. And the current recommendations, unless they've changed within the past couple of hours, is that for a normal, healthy person, wearing a mask in public really is not going to do anything to keep them from getting sick. The real purpose of wearing a mask in public would probably be more for the individual who has COVID-19 and is not symptomatic. It can help them from spreading it to other people. But we're not at this time recommending that all members of the public wear masks while they're out. The other fear with that is if people are wearing masks, we're afraid that they will start to feel confident in being safe, which they're not, and then they might relax on their social distancing practices.
So I have one follow-up question, Mr. Mayor, and that is that the additional COVID-19 case that was not travel-related or related to somebody that was around this other person. So we have a case that we don't know where they got it. Is that correct?
There is one case that they're unable to determine with 100% surety where it came from. That's correct.
So that means that there's folks out there that could be have COVID-19 that we don't know about where this person got it from, that was not related to all of the other cases. Is that correct?
It could potentially be possible. There are people out there that we don't know that have it. The person who is that one case was towards the middle of our cases. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's been several weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, that person was identified. And so the likelihood that there's more from wherever that person got it out there is not very likely. And there is a little bit of backstory to that. There was a person who was identified and who was sick and was tested. They tested negative, and we think they're actually probably the source, but they were tested too late in their infectious period to come back positive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Chief.
You're very welcome.
So moving down the agenda, I think I'm going to take an executive privilege here a little bit in regards to the cruise ship docking issue. And at this particular time, there's no motion on the floor, and understanding that the berthing and layup of cruise ships at a port of Ketchikan would add unnecessary stress to our community as we deal with the effects of the global pandemic. I would like to ask for 4 hands to give direction to the manager's office that we are not interested in extending temporary docking to the cruise ship industry. This is also consistent with the recommendations of the city manager's office. And by doing so, 4 hands in favor of the direction, I would expect this would remove item 7A4 from the agenda. So at this particular point, if there's no discussion, I guess I'd ask if there is discussion. Hearing none, since I can't see everybody raise their hand, I'm going to go around. Dick? Yay or nay?
Okay.
Jan Lee?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
David?
Both hands.
Mark?
Yes.
So with that, Carl, do you have clear enough direction to proceed with the wishes of the council?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that. So under communications, we have a couple of things. We have laid on the table a declaration of surplus equipment, oxygen generating system, O2 concentration device, item number MO65-100, and I would like to move that to item 7A6. We also add some communications as a laid on the table. We have one from the Landing Restaurant, and they were writing in regards to the recent mandates and the options for sheltering in place. They made us aware that the hotel is able to close off part of their facility for 30 units and further prevent the exposure if we need places for isolation. And they wanted to make us completely aware of that, and that they could provide food services and services to those individuals. As laid on the table, I'd like to give this to the manager's office and the EOC for further discussions in case there's a need that arises. And I'd like to thank them for their offer. I think there are other establishments in the community that have also made that offer, and I appreciate that very much. And with that, it brings us to communications. We will have some communications that need to be read into the record, but at this particular point in time, I believe there are 2 that are on a call-in basis. So, Tim, I guess I'm going to turn it over to you in regards to going ahead with persons to be heard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Taylor, Deputy Clerk Lee will be calling the first 2 persons to be heard, and then we'll move into the emails.
And when they come online, I would definitely like to remind them that there's a 3-minute limit on persons to be heard. We're going to adhere to that over this teleconference issue.
So the first person to call or to be heard is Mary Stevens. afternoon, this is Mary. Hi, Mary, this is the city clerk's office. You are on to speak during persons to be heard. You are on live TV right now, and we are requesting all comments to 3 minutes.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. This is Mary Stevenson speaking from Main Street headquarters. I've got 3 points to oversee tonight. Downtown real estate is valuable to those who desire front row seats. On tonight's agenda is the ground transportation in and out of Ward Code. I trust all have read my March 19th communique suggesting council sets a rate of $2.50 one way, $5 round trip for independent travelers using the shuttle, and $2.50 for traveling returning trip after an NCL tour departing from Ward Code outside. More importantly, at this point, is the mandatory routing of all transportation through Baden Mill Street intersection back into the tunnel down Highway 7. It will require traffic signals and cooperation from DOT to do so. Point number 2 is the anti-litter campaign. The Municipal Code 9.68 litter defines the criteria in which citizens should comply and ways for the police department to enforce when not. Written in 1971 with few amendments, the reason why the city of Ketchikan has a litter problem is due to lack of enforcement for the past 49 years, 3 generations, and the lack of discipline by all. The city is hiring 6 community ambassador code specialists at a budget of $105,600, taken from the passenger vessel tax. What measures is the city taking to notify stakeholders that the code specialists will be approaching undisciplined, truant citizens and visitors? Without a public service announcement warning the citizens of Ketchikan and cruise ship industry of a possible citation and $25 fine, more negative press will come from this than positive. Now, picture the encounter when one or all are wearing protective face masks and are being told not to litter or sleep on the bench with a ticket book in their hand. Also note, in my opinion, $22 an hour for this job is overpriced. It should have been offered at $15, a savings to the city of $33,600. A reminder to all, we do have a $160 million deficit. Point number 3, in 2019, the city's KPU rates increased for electric, water, and waste, as well as the borough increased property tax and sales. Enough talk about pandemic as it jeopardizes the health of citizens. We as the residents want to hear from the mayor's office what measures will be taken to extend timelines, payments without penalties, or consider discount incentive is paid on time. State and federal governments are implementing stopgap measures to assist citizens. Now is the time for local government to review payment plans that will not force closures and homeless and a burden debt. Property owners and renters support the system through taxes and monthly utility bills. Needs relief now. April bills are collecting now.
Mary, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, 2 seconds. The city must plan to ward off disasters for the constituents starting in May through the summer months. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Paul Trulio. I'm going to give him a call right now.
Hello.
Hi, this is Paul.
Yeah, this is Paul.
Hi, this is the city clerk's office. You are up for persons to be heard. You are on live TV, and we're requesting all comments to be 3 minutes.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
Okay, hi, this is Paul Terrell. I just want to address the issue of the cruise ship stock connect right now. I believe that our town is very unsure of what we're going through. There's a lot of uncertainty, insecurities, and unknown. I believe that right now instead of trying to help. I mean, I understand trying to outreach and help others. I think right now what we need to do is address ourselves as our island and our city. So, I mean, I gave a lot of aspects of why not and this, that, and the other thing, but I believe it's all underlined and you understand the pros and cons about it. But I think as a community, we need to see that the city council and the city manager really wants to represent and put us first in this situation. There's a lot of concerns, and I think as a community, we're just scared. We're not sure what's going on right now, and we just need to make sure that we're being put first above anything else. And I truly believe in my heart, the city council and the city manager and the mayor will address that to the best of their knowledge. So, in a nutshell, that's all I really have to say, and I truly believe in all of you, and I know that you will put us first. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I hope you all have a nice evening.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So if I understand it, we only had the two Collins, and now we have the ones we need to read into the record. Is that correct?
Yes, that is. I'm going to start with, would you like me to start now?
Yeah.
So first we have some comments that we received for the meeting of March 19th. The first one is from Vicki Boyd. It is, I am writing to express my current situation with my employer, the city of Ketchikan, due to the COVID-19 virus. A coworker has spent time in Washington, which is reported as having a high level of community transmission and went through CTAC this past weekend. My understanding is that person is at medium risk and should self-isolate for 14 days for the CDC. Our employer, who is aware of the travel, has not required self-isolation, and the traveling employee, who was on personal leave, has been coming to work. I feel it is necessary to isolate myself for my own health and well-being, especially since I have an 85-year-old mother-in-law that is in my care, as well as a husband with a compromised respiratory system. I am disappointed in the lax attitude. We are at the mercy of those around us and how seriously they believe this virus to be. Thank you for your time. The next one is from...
If I may interrupt, Kim, I've got a note that there's no sound on the live feed.
Yes, we are aware of that, Your Honor, and it's something to do with YouTube, but we are working on that.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Could you have Taylor a little bit closer to the microphone? It sounds like she's all the way across the room from it. I'm really not, I mean, I'm hearing her, but I'm just trying to do it.
Thank you.
And, Your Honor, the live feed's only through the PrimeGov, the online. The TV with KPU and GCR do have sound.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes.
Yes, that's much better.
Thank you. So the next one was from Dean Benjen. He had two questions. He asked, how many intensive care respirators do we currently have available at the Ketchikan Hospital? And does the Ketchikan City Council have the authority to shut down the Ketchikan Airport to prevent the 1 to 4% mortality rate, death rate of the individuals affected by the virus? And the last one is, this is for the 19th. There's several ones for today, but to whom it may concern, this is from Rick Boyd. I was very disappointed to read of the letter submitted to Alaska's congressional delegation urging to secure a waiver of the Passengers Vessel Service Act of 1886. This is strictly a dollar concern with no regard for our community's health. I realize this is a significant monetary impact to our community's economy, but what dollar amount justifies risk to residents' health and lives? Our community's economy will rebound without any tourism this season, but our community will rebound if the virus had a significant impact on our families. Let's be better safe than sorry in allowing this pandemic to invade our homes. Thank you for allowing my input. And then we have several emails that we received to be read today, and I'm just going to go through them. All these are regarding the dock, the cruise ships either. So the first one is from Karen. I object to having supersized cruise ships laid up in front of our town for an indefinite period of time. The exhaust from the engines will pollute the air, and we will be having to provide them with what has become scarce water resources we need to conserve. We are still paying a diesel surcharge to keep the lights on. We need to keep the water in the lakes so we can get off diesel. They will also be taking our sunlight. The shadows the Grand Princess and the Diamond Princess cast are not as noticeable in the summer because the sun is high in the sky, but at this time of year, the sun is still skims along the Peak Arena. These ships will cast a long shadow over everything and turn Front Water and Tongass Avenue into a dark canyon. My son is a marine architect. He has worked for Veth Marine Industries, Vigor Industrial, and Elliott Bay. He's now at SpaceX. I asked him what he thought was going to happen to the cruise ship fleet under the current economic and market situation. His guess is they'll downsize, and that means junking ships, reducing the inventory. What is to stop a ship sitting at our dock from being sold off to another corporation during some bankruptcy procedure and then being abandoned? We need to tread very carefully around this because a behemoth is about to fall apart. We've made a big investment in our downtown, and the visitors are always commenting on how lovely it is. It's important that we preserve our image. And thinking of the cruise ship industry corporations as our neighbors or our friend is simply foolish. We have a product to sell them, but it's not the opportunity to park their junk in our front yard. The next one is from Leslie Havel. She says, no, we do not want the cruise ships here. The next one's from Brett Hinkle. I'm a longtime resident of Ketchikan and I work in healthcare. Do not even think about allowing any cruise ships here. We will have a local infection rate that will surpass anything else in the state. There is a good reason why other ports are not allowing cruise ships to dock. This pandemic will take enough local residents' lives without the cruise ships coming here. Do not risk our lives. Do not allow them here ever. This is from John Young. As the pandemic ravages the world and with 8 known cases in Ketchikan so far, our city government, in their infinite wisdom, want to allow these foreign flag floating petri dishes to dock here with callous disregard for the safety of this town. These ships which deposit sewage into our oceans, deposit trash into our small, limited landfills, fill the back pockets of city officials, and now carry a pathogen that is unstoppable. We, the people who live here, are excluded from the city's decision-making process at all levels. In 2006, 65% of the voters in a public election said no to berths 3 and 4. The next day, after an executive session, our votes were squashed by the greed of the top city officials who are obviously on the payroll of the cruise ship industry. And now let these ships come here dock, let their crews wander around. I'm sure they will be busy trying to sanitize their ships and put their biohazard waste into our landfill. These foreign ships with their foreign crews should go back to their home ports, wherever that is, and stay there until the pandemic is over. We are being told to hunker down under penalty of jail, fines, or both if we gather together. This will allow our city government to gather together and meet without the public being allowed to make public comments. This comment is from Al Turner. I would like this to go on the record that I oppose any foreign flag cruise ship and crew to dock in Ketchikan or Rose Cove, Alaska during this crisis of the COVID-19 dilemma. Most all of the crews are from a foreign country, and we don't need to have this possible hazard in the small community of Ketchikan for a few dollars when we are all trying our best to protect each other from this virus. Other cities do not want them, so why should we jeopardize and disregard the safety of the residents of Ketchikan? These ships pollute our oceans, clean out our water supply, so we have to pay additional to go on diesel fuel. They'll most likely dump their garbage in our landfill. These ships should go back to their home ports and wait till their cruise is completely over. Seattle is canceling some of the first cruise ship schedules as these ships are known for the worst virus-carrying, disease-infected floating hotels around. I do not think the City Council definitely should not have the authority to make a decision yea or nay on this proposal. As serious as this is, this should be put up to a vote of the residents of Ketchikan and outlying areas, Metlakatla, etc. A 75-year resident and property owner of Ketchikan. This is from James Burke. We shelter in our homes and make the necessary sacrifices that will help flatten the curve of this pandemic. There is no excuse for allowing cruise ships to dock in Ketchikan while the virus rages. Passengers and crews could be from anywhere and may have been exposed. What price should we place on the safety of our citizens? This is critical to all residents of Ketchikan. If the city officials are willing to take the risk of allowing the very real risk of the exponential expansion of infected citizens, we are not. I believe this should be voted upon by the people. This comment is from Lois Munch. to our city government. I do not support tying up the cruise ships in Ketchikan during their layover due to the possibility of spreading the coronavirus at great risk to our community. This is from Heather Munich. Dear Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I am adamantly opposed to the city allowing cruise ships to dock during the COVID-19 pandemic. The community is already highly stressed because of the virus. People are worried about their health and their lack of employment. Adding the potential spread of the virus from the cruise ships will exacerbate the stress. People view these boats as plague ships. We as a community would be required to give medical care to sick crew members in our hospitals who quickly become overwhelmed. I firmly believe docking the ships will cost the city more than any revenue gained. This is not about being a good neighbor, as one council member stated, but about helping to protect our community. Sorry, there's a few more. This one is from Becky Stensland Isley. And she says, please distribute to each and every council member. In light of the fact that the City Council still intends to consider allowing the cruise ships to dock in Ketchikan, I find it necessary to send my objection regarding both the usual docking berths as well as the Ward Cove area and or anchoring out in the channel. I've had a couple of brief conversations with one of your council members on social media, and he reports at one time he's against it, but in the most recent article he appears to be considering it. To me, that appears typical of the climate of most all politicians in this time and on the media, and I am very disappointed. Why should Ketchikan be the idiots to stand up and become the bleeding heart for something that so many others see the significance of the virus and the disaster it would cause for their areas? Are you that money hungry or that blind? This decision would place the entire population at risk. You all know that it appears they can't control their need to dump their sewage, etc., on our beaches and in our waters. Do you really think they wouldn't now? It would be a, oops, I am sorry, I pushed the wrong button and just dumped in your bay. They just pay the fines and keep pushing into an area without thought for the environment. Do these ships even fly under an American flag? Do they pay taxes to our city? To bring that sort of thing into this town is a crime above many, and if you make the decision to do so, the deaths of the citizens of this town will be placed on all of your doorsteps. This decision can and will place additional stress on the population of Ketchikan emotionally, physically, financially, medically, and environmentally. But who wants to look at those ugly geese sitting and blocking the view, as well as taking advantage of our lifestyles and kindness of the bleeding hearts who allow it to happen? It will place a burden on the supplies from the stores, as well as this community already is having difficulty finding the products needed for this outbreak. They say that they will come fully provisioned. How can that be assured? They don't know how long they'll be forced to be here. How can they guarantee that no one on board will be sick? This virus takes a very long time to incubate, and a person can still be contagious without symptoms. This will put more pressure on our medical system, which isn't needed as we have enough of our own without taking this on. The water supply will be compromised. The people of this area are tired of paying extra for their water when it's in short supply and the generators have to be run. These ships will require a lot of water. You cannot tell me that some crew member won't decide to sit over the edge or urinate over the edge and the virus will be released that way. I have a medical background and am familiar with what it takes to contain a normal virus. Why in God's name are you even considering this? Who will assure that there is a 24-hour policing the ship and its crew to assure no one will decide to take a walk around town? This will take officers and time from our police force. It will affect the amount of time and decrease the officers of the area in arriving at an emergency in town. I truly hope you look very carefully at this mistake you appear to be considering. Is it truly worth endangering our town? The security and health of Ketchikan, Alaska and surrounding areas are in your hands. Do right by the people. This is from Gary Librand. This is a public comment on item 4, new business on the April 2nd city agenda meeting. I assume that the council is not going to allow the docking of cruise ships at the Ketchikan port based both overwhelming negative public comment and manager Amelon's recommendation to deny. However, during discussion, a new possibility has been raised that is docking or anchoring ships outside city limits, say at Ward Cove. This would have the same negative impact on our medical resources. It's unlikely that state medical officials or the Coast Guard will allow this, but Ketchikan should go on record as opposed to any attempt to dock any non-U.S. flagged vessel in the Ketchikan area. This comment is from Jane and Dennis Demert. Dear Ketchikan City Council members, we have read and listened to news of the Council's current consideration of cruise line requests to berth ships in Ketchikan until resolution of the present COVID-19 pandemic. We appreciate that you may feel obligated as a council to give consideration to such requests as are placed before you. We sincerely urge you to place the health and safety of our community at the top of your priorities and deny these requests. Our community is currently identified as a COVID-19 hotspot. We are at the front end of what is anticipated to be a significant buildup of COVID-19 cases over the spring that will challenge the infrastructure and medical capacity of our community and region. We cannot afford to risk the exposure and potential vulnerabilities that will come with ships and crews tied up here at this time. The record is showing that unfortunately cruise ships are natural environments for viruses such as COVID-19 to flourish. The record also shows that despite extraordinary efforts to sanitize these ships and endeavors to ensure that personnel on board are virus-free, resurgence of viruses cannot be fully prevented. In a likely event that this were to occur while docked here, Ketchikan services would inevitably be called upon and life-threatening risks taken. This is the reality. At a time when we must conserve our community infrastructure and medical services for what is to come, we urge you, please do not place this community in harm's way. Sorry. There was an email from Deborah Hayden. She sent out an email to all the council members as well with an attachment is about the proposal for berthing cruise ships here. She said much of the concern stems from the inability to know who has and may spread the virus and who does not. To date, testing for the virus has been difficult and limited. Our medical community has reached out and now has a new device that allows test results for active COVID-19 virus much faster than when tests had to be sent to Fairbanks. This is a vast improvement. Also, the EOC has more and more tests arriving this week. These are impressive and rapid responses to the current emergency. Yet, as recently as this past week, there have been developments in testing that can lead to more even certainty and more availability of results. There are tests in development and even distribution that within as little as 15 minutes can detect antibodies to COVID-19. The antibodies tell not only who has the disease, but who has ever had the disease. These new developments will allow us to know who has the disease, symptomatic or not. They will also know who is immune and who will not be in a danger to the community. Some of these tests involve only a pinprick to a finger and immediate blood test for antibodies. I am not advocating that you approve or disapprove of the cruise ship berthing in Ketchikan. I only offer the attached collection of excerpts from credible sources such as The Atlantic, Science Magazine, Business Insider, and Dr. Anthony Fauci as explanations about the development of the new tests and their implications for dispelling fear about the extent and spread of COVID-19. As these tests become available, perhaps in the very near future, they may alleviate the issue of crews bringing COVID-19 to Ketchikan. There may be other logical issues that will impede cruise ship berthing. Other logistical issues that will impede cruise ship berthing, but COVID-19 will diminish as one of the issues. This is from Camille Belch. She says, we'll make this short. Absolutely not. Can't even believe this is being considered. Kathy Russo. Please do not give permission for cruise ships to dock or anchor in our waters. This includes the docks, War Cove, and any other waters near and around Ketchikan. We have been exploited for years by this industry, and we do not owe them anything. We do not need to be good neighbors, as Mr. Bergeron states. They are going to return and stop in Ketchikan because of our geographic location, no matter what. Maybe this unfortunate scenario will allow the City Council to rethink the rapid expansion of this industry in the future. Please represent the people of Ketchikan, not the cruise ship industry. We have value too. This one is from the last one from William and Wynn Hopkins. We are vehemently opposed to allowing idle cruise ships to tie up here this summer for public safety reasons, given that sick crew members would be transferred to our hospitals, thus putting residents and healthcare workers at increased risk from the COVID-19 that has infested our very vulnerable community. Further, we are highly dismayed at the mindset of council members who would have expressed serious consideration of such a thing. Lastly, we wish to commend the response of our governmental leadership and the proactive measures taken to combat the very real threat of this plague. And that is all the emails that we received to be read into the record for today.
Thank you, Taylor. And I'd like to thank the public for their comments. So that moves us on to the consent agenda, and I think that if there's no objections, I would like to add 6A1, appointments to boards and commissions. I'd like to thank Gloria Burns for her volunteerism and service. And then under new business, item 1, 2020 Police Department Vehicle Acquisition, Kendall Ford. Item 783, award of contract 2008 Salmon Ladder Viewing Platform, PK Builders. We removed item 7A4, and I would also like to add 7B1, budget transfer, change order number 1 to contract number 19-18, mobile substation refurbishment, Specialty Engineering, Inc. If there are no objections, I'd like to have a motion.
Move to consent. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please read the items?
Budget transfer, mayor, council remote participation in city council meetings, liquor license renewal applications, fraternal order of Eagle Ketchikan Area 162 DBA Eagles Nest, and Ragnar Miking Post number 4352 DBA VFW Post number 4352, exempting the procurement of a 24-inch FPI inspection flow meter for the water division from the competitive bidding written quotation requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code, McCore Meter, Inc., exempting the procurement of the annual telephone switch platform software support and maintenance services from the competitive bidding written quotation requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code, Ribbon Communications, appointments to boards and commissions by Mayor Severson. 2020 Police Department Vehicle Acquisition, Kendall Ford, award of contract number 2008 Salmon Ladder Viewing Platform to PK Builders, and budget transfer change order number 1 to contract 1918 Mobile Substation Refurbishment, Specialty Engineering, Inc.
Thank you, Kim. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Coos,
Yes.
Kuiper,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Chapel,
Yes.
Bergeron.
Aye.
Thank you. That moves us on to 7A2, and for this particular item, I'd like to turn the gavel over to Councilmember Kuiper.
Forgot the mic there. Apologies. This particular item, 782, involves approving amendment number 1 to the agreement for sale surplus of real property, 319 Main Street, old fire station. I would like to have a motion. Your Honor. Oh, I'm sorry.
I move the city council.
I recognize you. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I move the city council approve amendment number 1 to the agreement for the sale of surplus property of 319 Main Street, old fire station number 1, extending the closing date to no later than April 24th, 2020.
Over a second.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Did, Carl, do you want to explain briefly what this amendment is about?
I can do that. This is a request that was made by Uncharted Distillery. They're asking for a 3-week extension to the closing date due to delays that they've incurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I reviewed this with the city attorney and we have no objection to the request.
Does any council member want to comment on this?
Yeah, Your Honor, this is Dick. You hear me?
Dick.
Okay, I'm not hearing some people back, and somebody keeps turning off my mic every time I turn it on, so I'd like to ask them not to do it. I'll turn it off. My comment is I think we need to give this extension, but I also believe that we ought to change that date to, I'm going to say May the 22nd, because we know what the problems are people coming from the south and doing things. And that May 22nd would be one day after our last meeting in April, and would give them chances if they can't get those praisers in here or people in here to do it without us coming back. So I'm going to move that we change the date to May the 22nd.
Is there a second on the?
I'll second that. This is Donnelly.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll on the amendment?
Flora,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Kuiper,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Aye.
Chapel.
Yes.
Main motion with the,
Motion, amendment passed. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Gage,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Chapel,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Aye.
Coos,
Yes.
Kuiper.
Yes. Motion passes, and we will hand the gavel back to the mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Kuiper. So that brings us on to 7A5, liquor license renewal, potential protest, Creek Street Cabaret beverages. In regards to that, I'd ask for a motion alternative 2. I think the individual has been in contact with the city clerk. They have funds, but the borough office also has been closed due to the COVID-19 issue. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move the city council approve the renewal of beverage dispensary license number 4799, Creek Street Cabaret liquor license, contingent upon satisfactory payment of delinquent sales taxes prior to the regular city council meeting of April 16, 2020. Second.
Thank you for that. It's been moved and seconded. Mark, do you have anything?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Anybody else have discussion?
Your Honor, I just wanted to make one quick statement.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, even though I frequently play music at the cabaret and perform there, I do not believe I've ever actually been paid by Mr. Ritchie to perform music at that establishment. I could be wrong, but someone actually questioned that the other day, and I just wanted to make it very clear that when I perform there, I'm almost always paid otherwise.
Well, thank you for that, and the mayor would rule that you didn't have a conflict in regard to this. Anybody else? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Flora,
Yes.
Chapel,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Aye.
Coos,
Yes.
Kuiper,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
So that brings us on to the lay on the table item 7A6, declaration of a surplus equipment, oxygen generator system, O2 concentrating device, item number M065-100. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
pursuant to section 3.12.070 D2 of the Ketchikan Municipal Code, I move the City Council declare as surplus fire department's oxygen the fire department's oxygen generating system O2 concentrating device, item number M065-100, as surplus, and authorize the city manager to transfer said equipment to the Wrangell Fire Department.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I've had discussions with Carl. Carl, do you want to elaborate any on this at this point?
Mr. Mayor, this is a request that I received from the Wrangell Borough Manager, Lisa Mondargan. They would like this equipment, essentially to use it for spare parts to ensure that their oxygen generation capabilities are maintained in Wrangell. I've talked to the acting fire chief, Scott Brainerd. He's assured me that this device has not been used in several years and has no objection surplusing it to Wrangell. And I think it's a good reuse of the equipment.
Thank you, Carl. Any comments by council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bergeron,
Aye.
Chapel,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Kuiper,
Yes.
Coos.
Yes.
Thank you for that. It brings us down to item 7B2, ordinance number 20-1908, authorizing the issuance of a Ketchikan Public Utilities revenue bond of the city in one or more series in a aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $11,500,000. The finance costs of designing, constructing, and equipping a new undersea fiber optics cable linking the Ketchikan area with Prince Rupert, British Columbia, as authorized by resolution number 19-2748 of the City Council and ratified by the city voters at an election held therein on October 1st, 2019. Authorizing the pledge of the Ketchikan Public Utilities revenues to pay debt service on the bond, providing for the date, term, and covenant of the bond bank on the terms and conditions provided in the ordinance. First reading.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move the City Council approve in first reading ordinance number 20-1908, authorizing the issuance of Ketchikan Public Utilities revenue bonds of the city in one or more series in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $11,500,000 to finance cost of designing, constructing, and equipping a new undersea fiber optic cable linking Ketchikan area with Prince Rupert, British Columbia, as authorized by resolution number 19-2748 of the City Council and ratified by the city's voters in an election held therein on October 1st, 2019. Authoring the pledge of the Ketchikan Public Utilities revenues to pay debt service on the bonds, providing for the late date, terms, and covenants of the bonds, authorizing the sale of the bonds to the Alaska Municipal Bond Bank on the terms and conditions provided in this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sam, do you have anything?
No, I'm just excited about this project. I think that this additional bandwidth is going to put us in a very, very good position in the telecommunications in Ketchikan. And, you know, I kind of flippantly said that at one point that global domination was my goal. You know, I think that if you've got enough bandwidth, we have some opportunity to do some things maybe outside of the city. That's all I got.
Thank you. Carl, do you have anything to add?
Mayor, I don't.
Thank you very much. Any other council members? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Kuiper? Is that a yes?
I'm sorry, yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Chapel,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Aye.
Coos.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes, brings us down to item 8, vouchers, which we have none, brings us to item 9, manager's report. Carl.
Comments on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. First and foremost, I want to thank Chief Hogue for taking on the responsibilities of running the EOC. I agree with his assessment that we have a bunch of people working full-time, both from the public sector and private sector, that they're doing their utmost to serve the welfare and health of the citizens of this community. And we really owe them a debt of gratitude. An example of some of the things we've been able to accomplish at this meeting tonight, I again would like to give credit to Ed Cushing and the folks at Telecom, as well as Curtis Thomas and the folks of IT. They've been working tirelessly to make sure that we have the capability of holding this meeting publicly in an electronic format, as well as allowing both city and borough staff to work remotely and have the bandwidth capable to do that, as well as making additional bandwidth available to KPU customers to encourage people in the community to work remotely. There's no question that this disruption will have a financial impact on city and KPU finances. To that end, I have put in a hiring freeze, which is going to continue. We have a few exceptions to that relative to linemen, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. We're also reviewing capital spending, and we've frozen a number of projects, both on general government and KPU side. It's our intent to submit to the council an overall fiscal impact report in July and seek direction from the city council relative to parameters for developing the 2021 general government and KPU spending plans for next year. Overall, we're just trying to be as conservative as possible. The only other thing I would note that's not pandemic related is last week we did meet with representatives of the Ward Code Group relative to finding a staging area in the downtown. Pursuant to council direction, we did submit them a number of proposals, which they are considering, and we're waiting to hear back from them. And as soon as we do, we'll give you an update. And that's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carl. Are there any comments, questions from the council?
One, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the manager for proactively looking at areas of the budget that we could defer expenses on for the time being. That kind of proactive mindset is going to be important going forward.
Thank you, Mark. With that, it brings us down to city clerk's file.
None, Your Honor.
City attorney's file.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Future agenda items.
Several, Your Honor.
What do you have?
3, as the pandemic eases and our community moves back towards some sense of normalcy, I think there should be an agenda item for a discussion of how we transition back to our new normal. The town needs to get to work. We're a tourist-driven economy. There are businesses and tour operators that want to get up and running. We heard a ton of comments tonight about concern from the public, and as we move forward, we need to keep that in mind as well. So I think we need to discuss that. That's 1. 2, to the manager's point, I think there should be some budget sessions scheduled for this summer so that the council and staff can work together. The budget's going to be crushed. We know it. We'll have better data by then. I think we need to get out in front of it and not wait till November, December. And lastly, when the dust settles and the time is right, I think it is time for our community to consider some sort of emergency or civil food supply. I've had discussions with a few people. I won't go into any details tonight and bore anybody with that, but I think at the local level, we should explore that possibility. Thank you.
Thank you for those, Mark. We'll take those under consideration and figure how we put them into the agenda as we move forward with the coming meetings. Mayor and council comments. Yeah, what do you have? Did I lose you?
It keeps turning on and off on me. The mic does. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now, Dick.
Okay, like I say, it goes on and off. Anyway, I'd like to thank the members of the EOC committee and the other people participating, the businesses in town that are helping each other out and helping the community out. We need to give those guys all a big thanks. And also, just like Mark said, we need to be making a plan in the near future how we go back to work, because with nobody working and no jobs, why, people are just as unhappy if they're pinned up. So thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Dick. Jan Lee?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm with Mark. I think at this point, this gives us an opportunity to get ahead of our budget. And also, I think we're going to need to start looking at where we're going to be in the next couple months, getting ourselves back on track, but maybe being more due diligent in how we address bringing things back online in our economics. I know that a lot of our, I thank everybody who's volunteering and doing all the work, got their feet on the ground, city and borough, and also our nonprofits. And I really want to make sure that we're not cutting them, because it's an easy cut. So realizing that we need those guys, those nonprofits, to be there when we get done with all this. And then, I think it would be really good if we're ahead of ourselves and we make a plan, even if it's 6 months down the road, of where we're going to, what our plan will look like to get Ketchikan back online. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jan Lee.
Yep.
Sam?
Thank you. Thanks for all the comments from the council so far. I really appreciate the agenda item to get Ketchikan back to work. I think one of the things that we could do as a closed community, as a community that's doing such a good job on tracking the pandemic, tracking the virus, is that I would like to know when we could get tested. I mean, if we knew what everybody was as far as what their status was on the virus, we could get people back to work. Right now, there's not too many folks coming in and out of Ketchikan, and I think that we need to start talking about in the near term how we can, in our closed community, get people back to work. If we can test, I think that's a great idea. And I think we can get people that we know that are virus-free and get back to work. You know, I can tell you that from those of us that are sitting in the private sector and, the public sector as well, is that all of a sudden, like, lots and lots of work just went away. And so we need to, as much as we can, provide the tools that would allow us to get back to work. And so I appreciate Mark's idea and an agenda item to get that back on track. And I hope that testing and whatever means that we could provide in our community to get our community back to work would be the best thing to do. Other than that, I just want to remind everybody to stay safe, stay at home, and be safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Emily?
You already called me. Oh, Emily.
I also just have a couple of thank yous. Thank you, Taylor, for reading all of those public comments out loud. That was a big job. I appreciate that very much. I also wanted to say thank you to the community members that are responding to the messaging. We could throw messages out there all day long, but if you guys didn't respond, it wouldn't make any difference. So for those of you that are staying home and that are listening, thank you. And then one final thank you is to the EOC for being responsive to suggestions. Community members, if you guys see gaps or gaps in services, get a hold of us. We know how to funnel those up to, the people who are making these decisions. So thank you, EOC, for being responsive, and community members, if you see gaps, let us know. We're trying our best. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. David?
I just wanted to echo the thank yous to various parts of the community, certainly the community members who have been in a lot on this very strange trip with us together. And it's all new, just a completely new situation, and I think as a community we've handled it remarkably well thus far. I want to thank the EOC. Also wanted to thank technical staff for putting together this remote meeting. As you all know, I'm probably the least interested in technological stuff, and other than the fact that I can't watch everyone's facial expressions as well listening, I think this has actually been a success. And hopefully the audience has been able to follow along and things are going well. So thank you to KPU for making this happen.
Thank you, Dave. Mark?
Technical staff did such a good job, we may end up prefer this to the meeting in person. Yeah, thanks to the EOC. A lot of work to do, a lot of work that they've done. They've done a great job. Just need the community to hang in there, and we'll get through this together. That's what I got, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mark. So I think I'm going to echo that with the EOC and all of our staff that's working so hard to rise to the occasion in these difficult times. And, you know, as important as the EOC is and the messaging we do, without the cooperation of the community, we wouldn't be where we are today. 14 cases, that's a significant number, I think. But the fact that we can trace them and know the majority of them come from, I think is really good. So we're the social distancing, the hunkering down, I think flattening the curve. And we have to continue to do that to win the battle here in Ketchikan. So I think as a community, we have one goal, and everybody in the community, every member, has an equal responsibility in that, because it just takes one of us to spread the virus and turn this thing in a negative way. As Sam talked about testing, again, it would have to be 100%, or the reality is, again, we could have reoccurring type stuff. I think testing will help. I think we're getting there. I understand there's some rapid tests coming to the state, or the tests that we have available in Ketchikan here shortly that will turn something around in 2 hours. So that's all great news. But again, it's a community effort, and I thank those that are adhering to the mandates of the governor and to the suggestions from the EOC and the community to continue to hunker down, continue the social distancing, be respectful of other people's spaces, and take care of yourself and be safe. With that, is there any other new business?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I'd like to ask for consideration to defer the executive session, given the state of the community and the workload presently on the hospital. I think it might be beneficial to maybe give this a 30-day breather and revisit this. And I'd just like to know if that's a possibility and what the manager and the other council people and you think.
Thank you for that, Mark. I think I would defer to Carl first, because there may be some consideration of timelines in the contract that we have in place. Carl.
Mr. Mayor, if the council wants to defer for a couple of meetings, it will push back the time frame for negotiations, but based on the discussion I had with Peace Health legal counsel yesterday, they're very much tied up, just as we are, in responding to the pandemic. So I don't see a major downside to Councilmember Flores' request. And I think that would be my only comment.
Thank you, Carl. So with that suggestion, Kim, what is the proper procedure for us to defer this into a later date? Do we have to have a motion for that, or do we just, with four hands, defer it?
You could just do 4 hands to defer.
All right, so I'm looking for 4 hands. Dick.
You got one hand here.
Yen Lee.
Okay, yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Well, that's 4. Dave.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So Carl, I defer that to your recommendation, without a specific date. I'd come back at the first meeting in May. All right, so that would be deferred at this particular point until the first meeting in May. Thank you for that. That brings us to item 16. Do I have a motion?
Adjourned.
At this time, we will stand adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Night.
Thanks, Kim.